my heart is beating faster. And I'm sure my blood pressure is elevated. I'm trying to catch my breath, not because of the elevation, but because I'm nervous and excited. But it's okay because it's not about me, it's about Jesus, about His Word. And I'm sure God is going to be glorified and all of us will be edified, including me, for what the Lord has placed in my heart for all of us today. Before I preach with you, I would like to request to stand up, please. Everyone to stand up, please. And then tell your neighbor, your seatmate, I'm so blessed that you're worshiping Jesus with you today. Good, good. And mean it from the heart. That's good. Now, one more thing. Would you inhale through your nose and breathe through your mouth? Do it 3 times, please. Now, at least you know what your neighbor ate this morning. Please be seated now. Thank you. The reason why I did this is because I want all of us and I want to raise our awareness and for us to always thank God moment by moment, every day. Because He always gives us the ability to breathe, the ability to think, the ability to talk, the ability to appreciate. Sometimes we take that for granted. At least for me. It seems to me that breathing and walking and talking and blinking my eyes are always just part of me, and I don't even thank God for it. I have been so appreciative of what God, this basic motor skill and ability to think and to talk, since especially that I am working for hospice agency and home health agency in California. Because as I go out every day, the reality that one day I'll be able, you and I, maybe I'll be ahead of you, I'm older than you, most of you, you and I will lose that ability. And so, while we are still able to do this, thank God for this little gift that God, or gifts that God is giving us daily. Amen? So, for some of you who do not know what I'm doing now, I am working as community liaison officer or market development officer for St. Louis Hospice. It's in downtown LA, but my main responsibility is to develop the Corona, Whittier, southwest in the Covina area, along the corridor of 57 and 60 freeway and I-5. Again, Sister Diana, I was in Palmdale in Thursday, so I was literally 8 hours a day in the freeways of California. Love it though. But the first time I visited a facility, memory care. These are the facilities where people with dementia are living towards the end stage of their life. The first time I see them as a group in one place, I was overwhelmed by the sight and the sound and the scent of these unfortunate people and the end stage of their life. I said it unfortunate because not all of them has the capacity to stand, feed themselves, even talk. Most of them are incontinent. And initially I was like emotional because I felt for them. But then eventually I become like philosophical, like thinking like, uh, I was wondering, how did these people use their life, their prime time of their life? How did they live? But I cannot tell. Because more or less, you can tell if the person was successful business-wise or financial-wise when they were in their prime time of their life, because they will be living in a private room. That's at least $6,000 a month. If not, you'll be living in a shared room, $2,500, $3,000 a month to stay in the. So, and you'd see some people would never be visited by their family. So it breaks my heart, especially for those people who have not been visited by their families. And I was like, why are they not visiting them? Maybe they were not really exactly the perfect parents. Or why is he living in a smaller, miserable little room and can't afford a more dignified place? Maybe he wasn't very good in saving money or something. So from emotional to philosophical, and then theological or biblical. Like I was wondering, Lord, why do you allow these people to live in such undignified life when they can't even control their drool? They can't even, much more feed themselves or talk or even think right or talk right. Now I know that, I think were they able to accomplish and fulfill the purpose that God placed them here on earth? And I'd like to invite you to consider this. By the way, I'm going to preach about a character in the Bible. His name is Benaiah, who chased the lion. So the title is Chase and Kill Your Lion, a narrative of Benaiah's success. So being narrative, I'll tell you stories. And towards the end of the message, I'll tell you my testimony of what the Lord is doing in my life and in my family. So, I want you to consider this. Listen, all of us have a God-given purpose here on earth. When you receive the Lord Jesus Christ, and all of you who prayed the sinner's prayer, and if you are familiar with the 4 spiritual laws, towards the end of that, there's a prayer that ends this way: Lord, make me the kind of person that you want me to be. For me, it's like, Lord, help me accomplish the calling that you have for me. Lord, help me pursue with sincerity your God-given passion for me. And all of us have that. We know that you and I have our calling. You and you alone can tell that, what God has placed in your heart. Now let me direct you to, as introduction, to Acts chapter 13, verse 36. Now, when David had served God's purpose in his own generation, he died or fell asleep. He was buried with his ancestors, and his body decayed. You notice that? I underlined that. After David has served God's purpose in his own generation. Now, this is not only true to David. You and I are standing and living and walking and eating and doing our regular stuff daily in our generation because God has a God-given purpose for you and me. Think about that. Let it sink in your heart for a while. Think about this. Am I really pursuing the God-given purpose for my life? Am I really pursuing His calling in my life? Or am I just in the cruise control of my life, enjoying the view, going into that scenic route of life's highway and byways? Now, that's King David. Let me introduce to you the guy who helped him become the king of Israel, enabled him to serve his purpose in his generation. His name is Benaiah. And look at this. 1 King chapter 4, verses 1 to 4. So King Solomon ruled over all Israel, and these were his chief officials: Azariah, the son of Zadok, the priest. This is his spiritual advisor, Azariah. Elihorep and Ahijah, the son of Shisha, secretaries. These are his counselors. And Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, a recorder. Now check this out. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, commander-in-chief. Now, I'll expound this later. Being a commander-in-chief, I think, is the apex of a career for any warrior or soldier. And he was able to accomplish this. That was his purpose in his own generation. To fight alongside David, to bring David to the throne. And David, because in his generation, brought Israel to the golden age, and it ran down to it extended to his son Solomon, and that was the time that Israel experienced prosperity, peace, and dominance, world domination. Because of David, Solomon, and the mighty men around David. I pick Benaiah. Let's read it together, or follow me as I read it. 2 Samuel 23, 20 to verse 23. Now, like what I told you earlier, there were 37 men who volunteered to help David while he was running away from King Saul, the first king of Israel. He has been already anointed to be the next king, but he was persecuted, challenged, and chased by King Saul. While he was running away, the Lord gave him and blessed him with 37 good men. Brave, courageous, loyal, faithful, and committed to serve David so that David will be able to accomplish the purpose that God has given him in his generation. One of them is Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada. There was also Benaiah, verse 20, a son of Jehoiada, a valiant warrior from Kabzeel. He did many heroic deeds, which included killing 2 champions of Moab. Here's our verse today. Another time, on a snowy day, he chased a lion down into a pit and killed it. Once, armed only with a club, he killed an imposing Egyptian warrior who was armed with a spear. Benaiah wrenched the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with it. Deeds like this made Benaiah as famous as the 3 mightiest warriors. He was more honored than the other members of the 30, though he was not one of the 3. Check this out. And David made him captain of his bodyguard. So from a regular guy, regular volunteer, because of his bravery, courage, faithfulness, loyalty, King David elevated him to become his bodyguard, and eventually he became the commander-in-chief of the most powerful nation during Solomon's time. Now, he's known as the lion chaser. By the way, I got this message from the book that I bought as my Christmas gift to myself in December, Chase the Lion by Mark Batterson. And I've been reading this, listening to it audible. It's my companion going through the traffic in I-5 and all in the freeway of LA, and I listened to it. This is my takeaway from the book. Chase the Lion. So, I want us to consider this. Consider the life of Benaiah. And I want later on to zero in and apply it together in our daily walk as we pursue God's purpose for us in this generation. Now, the Bible did not tell us why and how and why he killed, how and when, the details of his chasing and killing the lion. But before that, I was like, was there a lion in Israel? Because I know, been watching History Channel, BBC Channel, all this National Geographic. These are all African lions. And I Googled it, thank God for Google. Found out that there's another kind of lion, a subspecies, a cousin of the African lion. It's called a Asiatic lion. And there are still more of those lions in India. Brother Stevie, you're blessed. You have those tigers and lions. But during the times, the biblical times, it's all over that promised land. That part of the landscape where David and the old prophets and all, like Samson, he killed one. David, he killed one. And Benaiah, he killed one. Now, like what I said, the Bible did not say on how he killed the lion. But you and I can imagine this. I imagine one day Benaiah was walking from whatever he did that day. It was snowing. And then as soon as he take the turn and that curve, he was met with this lion. By the way, Asiatic lion compared to an African lion is a little smaller, 350 pounds, full grown. And if it's standing on its hind leg, it will be as tall as Pastor Ramon. And it can run 35 miles per hour. Average is 20 miles per hour. So Benaiah came face to face with the lion. And I can see that they locked their eyes. And lion roared. If I were David, if I were Benaiah, I will run away. But this guy is different because he knew that God is with him. He ran to the roar. And the lion, for whatever reason, chickened out or lioned out or whatever it is. Turn around and run. For me, if I were Benaiah, I would say, now I can go back. It's snowing anyway. I hang out with my family and deal with that lion someday. But no, he ran after the lion. It was snowing. Now, that is going against all odds. But that odd worked for his favor, like the hunter's game. May the odd work in your favor. Turned out to be that way. Because although he was not able to catch up with the lion, he was able to see the paw prints. And he was able to track him and find the pit where the lion went. Can you imagine? Imagine this, if this is like a reality show, man versus lion. And so the lion went into that pit on a snowy day. Benaiah peeked, and he saw that yellow-orange eyes in the dark, and the white fangs silently roaring and saying, "Don't mess up with me." And if you're going to use that in a Hollywood scene, I can see that to make it dramatic, Benaiah started walking away. And the audience thank God, Benaiah used his brain, his common sense. He's walking away from the danger. But he only walked away to a certain distance so he can get a running start. So can he jump into the pit and kill the lion? That he did. Walk away and jump and kill the lion. You can hear the roar. The man yelling, the lion roaring. After the commotion stopped, Benaiah came out. His arms filled with some bleeding because of the scratch, but he killed the lion. Now, go back to the verse. Say it with me. Say it with me. Another time, on a snowy day, he chased a lion down into a pit and killed it. My takeaway is this. In that experience, the author Samuel says, another time. What he's telling us is this: challenges, hardship, and trials come normally in our life. It's as normal as the sun rises from the east and sets on the west. Hardship comes regularly in our life. Jesus said that in this world you will have tribulation. Guys, when hardship comes, do not question God's goodness. It's part of the deal. But have that attitude. Face it, look at it, and then chase it. Another time, on a snowy day. Say, challenges come when the odds are not in our favor. Check that out. Remember that. And on a snowy day. And he chased a lion down the pit. It tells me that the need to deal with the challenge, that there is a need for all of us to deal with the challenge that we face with urgency. We cannot put the challenges on the back burner and say, it'll go away anyway. You and I have to face the challenge that we face every day. He could have brushed it off. Anyway, he has all the excuses. He can make reasons and make justification for not addressing the challenge at hand, saying that I can do it tomorrow. I can do it sometime. This is not urgent. He retreated anyway, the lion. I can hang out with my family. But no, he did that because he knew that the lion was a threat to himself, to his life, a threat to his family, a threat to his livestock, a real imminent danger that can hurt him and stop him from accomplishing the God-given purpose for him in that generation. So he had to face, chase it, and kill it. Now, what am I saying this? Why am I saying this? This is the spiritual lesson that we get from Benaiah's story. Reality is, you and I will have almost zero chance of meeting a physical lion in our lifetime. Except probably Orville, who does mountain bike, one day he'll meet. I'm not saying this. I'm not hoping this for you, bro. But because you are in that mountain, you probably get some mountain lion an experience but that's right. Maybe you're thinking, that is not relevant to me. I'm even allergic to cats. But here, we are not going to see a physical lion, but you and I will face a figurative lion in our life. Daily, maybe you are facing a figurative lion in your life. It's something, I say this, a lion, for me, is something that's a threat to us, that stands between you and your God-given destiny. It's something that can hurt you. It's something that can hurt your family. It's something that can hurt the church if you don't address it. So it could be a person, it could be a relationship, it could be a bad habit, it could be a sin in your life that threatens to hurt you and your family. Is that making sense? So you and I are going to face this. What are we gonna do? I'd say, face it, look it in the eye, chase it, and kill it like Benaiah did. Now, I'm going to be personal. Let me tell you my story. I faced, and I'm still facing, a lion in my life. And I think to some degree, you and I, most of us, are facing this lion. I call it complacency. Complacency can hurt us. Complacency can hurt our family. Complacency can hurt your chances of achieving the God-given purpose in your life. And it's defined as this way. Complacency is a feeling of quiet pleasure or security, often while unaware of some potential danger, defect, or the like. It's a self-satisfaction or smug satisfaction with an existing situation or condition. It is like chillaxing when there is really a danger and you get tired of pursuing your God-given purpose, design, and calling. Now, like I told you, it's personal this time. After 5 years of serving Crosswind, remember I preached one time that I lose that passion in preparing the sermon? I admit to you that I have become complacent in my pursuit to become the kind of pastor that God wants me to be. And because I did not address that, I realized that this church deserves a better pastor. So when the Lord told me, promote Pastor Mon, I said yes. But I did not realize this until when I moved to California, then I heard God's voice. Because I couldn't hear God's voice here because I'm so chillax with you. Even if I messed up, you love me anyway. You cannot do anything. It's like I'm a pesky fly to you. I can be annoying, but you love me. And that's bad for you, and that's bad for me. And that's bad for me, and that's bad for my family. So I have to look at complacency in the eye. Because if I'm not going to do this, my family will be affected, number one. My wife will be a sorry, beautiful, pretty patient lady who married a complacent guy. My children will also grow up hating, not appreciating God being the father because the earthly dad that they have is a complacent father. The Lord had to take me out of this place so that I will see the lion that's facing me, that's challenging me in pursuing the God-given purpose and destiny that He has set for me. And that's complacency. Brothers and sisters, we all are called to be like Jesus. But we are all called to be like Jesus as an engineer, as an architect, as a nurse, as a doctor. That's our calling. But as you go through that, let Jesus become evident in what you're doing. And you can only do that if you honestly face the lion in front of you. Look it in the eye, chase it, and kill it. I'm still chasing complacency. Not on a snowy day, but in the traffics of freeways in California. One day I'll be able to kill it. And believe me, I am learning to kill the complacency. Because truth be told, nobody's over me as a pastor here. That's the beauty of being a senior pastor. But, so I can pretend to work and work. I can choose whatever I'm doing. So, because I'm not accountable to anybody except Jesus, I can always justify the non-growth or growth or whatever it is. And that's a trap for me to become complacent. So forgive me. But God has showed me that, and I'm chasing that. One day after I killed complacency, and the Lord is going to bring me back to that path where I will become the kind of pastor, husband, and father that God wants me to be. What about you? What's that lion standing between you and God-given destiny for you? Sometimes it's pride. Sometimes it's lust. Sometimes it is anything. Now, don't get me wrong. I was not complacent in everything in life. I was passionate with golf. I was passionate building decks. So in other words, I was complacent on the things that matter, but I was not complacent. I was passionate on the things that don't matter at all or little significance in my life in fulfilling my God design. So sometimes we can justify that. I'm good at it. But check it out. Where is your passion? Where are you complacent at? If you are complacent on the things that matters most, and you are passionate on the things that don't matter at all, you will end up dead and complacency laughing at you. And you and I will not probably become like David. And we cannot say that. After David served God's purpose in his generation, he went to be with the Lord. Put that in your heart and be honest with ourselves. Now, I'm closing, promise. I want you to check this out. I get this, kind of tweak a little bit, lion chaser commitment. Can you read it? I'll read it for you slowly. By the way, you can take a photo of it and then, it's good, it's beautiful. He said, quit living as if the purpose of life is to arrive safely at death. Run to the roar. Set God-sized goal. Pursue God-given passions. Go after a dream that is destined to fail without divine intervention. Stop pointing out problems. Become part of the solution. Stop repeating the past. Start creating the future. Face your fears. Fight for your dreams. Grab opportunities by the mane and don't let go. Live like today is the first day and the last day of your life. Burn sinful bridges. Blaze new trails. Live for the applause of the nail-scarred hands of Jesus. And don't let what's wrong with you keep you from worshiping what's right with God. Dare to fail. Dare to be different. Quit holding out. Quit holding back. Quit running away. Chase and kill your life. God bless you.